You ever hear a recording of your voice and swear that isn't you speaking? Well, yeah, I sound like a bitch. Not quite sure I'm supposed to start one of these videos, but fuck it. Let me start off by saying that this video is not rage bait. Especially if you're an Evangelion fan who was unlucky to click onto this. I repeat, this video is not rage bait. This is something that's been lingering in the back of my mind for quite some time now. Every so often in your walk of life, they'll come around someone who's just a miserable person, and they just have to express themselves. Hey there, I'm that miserable person. How you doing? And despite me being that miserable person, this entire video will not be about me bashing Ava. Well, not entirely. So, before the Ava fans could start rolling down their windows and begin aiming at my head top, and start saying shit like, "Oh, it's too deep for feeble-minded idiots such as yourself to appreciate." You know what? Let's pretend I'm that idiot. I'll be honest. There were times I would put on an episode, start watching, and my eyes would begin to get real heavy. And then I'd just fall asleep. It wasn't always like that. I know by the anime community standards, I'd be a rookie with only having about 120 animes under my belt. But I gotta say, Evangelion was the first anime to make me step away and take a hiatus. In the meantime, I was able to tackle a couple other anime that were on my list. You know, some real anime. I swear, no other show has shattered the mental fortitude that I've built up over the years, and all in under 10 hours, leaving my mental state in anguish and my brain cells deteriorated into a cesspool of unadulterated idiocy. Okay, that was a bit much. I embellished a bit there. Anyway, after I finished the show, I still chose to read those essays praising it, I still chose to watch those videos worshipping it, and I've read countless comments online busting it wide open for Ava. Now, for the 15% of the show that actually flew over my head, after reading and hearing breakdowns of people who essentially shared the same, level of comprehension an Ava scholar would normally demonstrate, I still came to the conclusion that I didn't enjoy the show. But despite all of that, I wanted to know why Ava was so special to so many people, and beyond that, I wanted to know why nostalgia had such a strong hold over so many of us. I know there's an ongoing joke in the Ava community that you have to be depressed in order to enjoy the show, and understand it, and appreciate it. And while I've went through a ton of testimonies that would unironically echo those same sentiments, the main thing I wondered was how much of a role did nostalgia play for these people. Now, for this part, I'm specifically pointing towards the people who said this was one of the first animes they've consumed. I'm also pointing at those who said this was a show they watched at a young age. At the end of the day, I don't really judge someone for something they like. If they like something, they like something. After all, what you eat don't make me shit. But seriously, art is art, and Ava is art. So whether you relate to the characters in Ava or just straight up pity them for their circumstances, that's fine. My issue that stretches far beyond Ava are people who watch the show once and swear by it years and years later. Now, you can say, that's a stupid thing to bring up. And you know what? You're entitled to that opinion. I'm merely trying to spark a discussion. Now, this part goes without saying, but like any piece of art that's open to the public, it is also open for criticism. But first, I almost forgot, I didn't mention anything I actually liked about the show, so here's a few things. The plug suits designs are iconic, Ava designs are cool, the Sato and Pen are nice, and the opening is amazing. Okay, that's it. I should also admit that I'm not a big mecha fan. I mean, aside from Gurren Lagann in '86, I really don't care about the genre. I also gotta be honest here. Aside from the Monster of the Week episodes at the beginning, I was sort of drawn to the psychological aspects of the show. Only for a bit. Now, with that painful bit out of the way, I'm not gonna talk about the hospital scene with Shinji. I'm not gonna talk about the obnoxiously long static shots throughout the show. I mean, seriously, this one frame lasts over 40 seconds. I'm not gonna talk about how annoying Asuka is. I'm not gonna talk about the unnecessary religious imagery for the sake of looking cool. I'm not gonna talk about how Pen Pen has way more personality than Rei, or Misato kissing Shinji. I'm not gonna talk about how in episode 2 when the two boys go to the bathroom, the scene shows at least 6 urinals, yet they chose to pour one out right next to each other. Oh yeah, I'm definitely not gonna talk about how fans who saw this show when they were younger and are now in their late 20s and mid 30s, who still view Asuka and Rei as ideal waifus, as if their mental growth has been stunted since they've seen the show. Nor will I bring up how they still can't help themselves from sexualizing mentally unwell 14-year-old girls. Man, I already know there's some of you out here that will defend this behavior to your grave. But again, like what you like, and I'm only gonna judge you a little bit. If it helps any of you sickos who are mad at what I've just said, I enjoy Made in Abyss. Go ahead, you can take all your shots at me. But yeah, this isn't something that's only in the Ava community. A lot of you guys just go out of your way to be complete sickos. But whatever floats your boat, right? Now, let me put my Ava bashing to the side for a bit and move on to a show that I still like to this day.
Dragon Ball Z!
I enjoyed the characters, I loved the action, I liked the screaming for large portions of the episodes when characters powered up, I loved the music, and that extended to the games as well. I'm talking Budokai 1, 2, and 3, Tenkaichi 1, 2, and 3, Sagas, Burst Limit, Raging Blast 1 and 2, Supersonic Warriors, and Boo's Fury. Shit, I even had Goku birthday napkins. I even had a Dragon Ball Z wallpaper on my big booty back computer at the time, man. Hey, and shout out to Sparking Zero that's about to drop. I said all of that to say that I don't view Dragon Ball Z the same way I used to. And that's okay. People grow up. I've seen too many shows since then. Shit, Dragon Ball Z was the first show to ever make me cry. Yo, when my dog Vegeta went against Majin Buu and Vegeta was like,
Trunks, Bulma, I do this for you. And yes, even for you, Kakarot.
And then he did his final explosion and the narrator was like,
one of Earth's greatest warriors vanished in a blinding light, making a sacrifice for his loved ones. His name was Vegeta, a proud Saiyan prince.
Yo, I couldn't say a word. I was in my aunt's basement on top of a bed, sitting on my knees, tears just rolling down my face, man. I was a mess. No lie, if Twitter was a thing back then, I would've hopped my little ass online and been like, yo, Vegeta the GOAT, peak fiction, yo, that deadbeat dad Kakarot is a bitch. You know, say all the things to help mask my pain. At that time, never would I possibly imagine that another scene would come along from another show or movie that would touch me the way that scene did. But you know what? Multiple times since then it has happened. But only because I gained more emotional intelligence over the years. In addition to, you know, growing up and viewing other pieces of media. Now, while Dragon Ball Z is the grandfather of Battle Shonen, and while I might no longer be a kid who holds it in a high regard that I used to hold it in, I can still appreciate it for what it is. But I'm not gonna lie and tell myself that it's the best battle shonen of all time. Not because nostalgia has me in a tight chokehold, like it does for so many others. No bullshit, nostalgia has been bullying and beating the shit out of so many of you guys that you can no longer see the light. Nostalgia has straight up blinded a bunch of you guys. It has blinded you guys into believing that a lot of these shows that you've seen when you were younger are still good. And yes, I'm trying to say that Ava is one of those shows. When people talk about nostalgia, it usually refers to a younger stage in life. A time when things may have been simpler, or in some Ava fans' eyes, a time where things were darker. Now, for all the Ava fans who related to the show and felt nostalgia for it, I hope they're no longer in that dark place. And hey, maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part, but I would be a bit sad knowing that people still look back at a bad time and feel nostalgic about it, you know? Growing is gaining more experiences in life, and gaining more experiences in life means that your perception of the world is probably gonna change a bit. The older version of you right now who is listening to this does not have the same mentality as you did when you were younger. Generally speaking, anyway. The point I'm trying to drive home is that you cannot trust your nostalgia. If it's telling you that Ava is still good, don't believe it. Now, I'm sorta jumping ahead to a later part in the video. Let's say it's 2010 and I'm 15 years old and I just finished watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Buffy?
Now, let's say 15 years passed by and now it's 2025 and I just finished watching Breaking Bad. Now, we all have different tastes, we all have our different opinions, but generally speaking, do you know how insane I would come across declaring that Buffy is a way better show than Breaking Bad? In no way would my nostalgia be so damn strong to bully me into saying, you know what? Breaking Bad was cool, but it was no Buffy. At that point, nostalgia would seriously have to be a stand, just holding a gun to the back of my head every time these sorts of conversations come up. And this example becomes even more ridiculous when you remember I haven't seen the show in 15 years. Believe it or not, most people don't have the best memories. Yet you want me to trust your nostalgic feelings from when you were 13 years old and now you're in your late 20s. Man, miss me with that bull. That's what you call blind loyalty. These are the type of people that will have an eye-round steak, and then a ribeye or even a piece of Wagyu comes along, they'll taste it and swear that the eye-round steak is better. Bro, I don't trust you. God, I've been yapping all over the place. Okay, how about a little story time? I was in my freshman year of college at the time, and anime still had the stigma that only pervs and nerds would watch it and read manga. I was 18, and being both bored and curious, I finally decided that I would watch Naruto. I'd always hear it being brought up with Dragon Ball Z in junior high and high school, and when I finally picked it up, I ended up enjoying it, up until the 4th Ninja War. But regardless, this Battle Shonen Rush was pretty damn nice. So after that, I jumped right into Bleach, and I stopped around the Fullbringer arc. And while both Naruto and Bleach didn't have the level of writing that Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, or Dexter did, all the shows that I had just previously finished binging, Naruto and Bleach still appealed to the little kid in me who were denied these shows. And probably because I was too busy hooping and eventually getting in and out of the same toxic relationship. Oh, and before someone says it, yeah, I know, Dexter really started to fall off after the 4th season. Shh, you don't gotta remind me. And real quick for the random Bleach fan who might have clicked onto this video and is still watching, and who might ask, why would you drop the show so close to the ending? Yeah, I know. I have a bit of a commitment issue. No, not really. I just hate the trope of a character losing their power when I know they're gonna go get it back, even though the trope is usually done to show the character learning things about themselves that we, the audience, might already know. Till this day, I still don't know if that was the case for Ichigo, or if it was just a situation that he could just, gain another skill tree so he become even more OP. I know I'm just yapping at this point, but I hate that trope in particular because it feels like I'm just wasting my time waiting for that character to get their power back so we can continue with the story. piggybacking off of shonen fatigue because of the constant fights with a lack of story. Yeah, looking at you, Bleach. I almost gave up on anime. Aside from the characters like Itachi, Kakashi, and Shikamaru, I wasn't really invested in the characters of these stories. Not to keep shitting all over Eva again, even though I know I'm going to a few more points in this video. But watching a show where I'm not invested, despite mildly liking Misato and Pen Pen, there's no growth in the show. It's a dry ass experience with no bev. But you know what, to be fair, that's more on me than it is on the show. And no, don't hit me with the, you're not supposed to really like the characters in Eva. They all have issues, that's the point. Oh, fuck off. I enjoy the more morally gray and fucked up characters when they're done right. Give a character a ton of flaws, I don't care. It won't bother me as long as I'm engaged in the story. I like unlikable characters, yet I still struggle to care for Ava's characters. I mean, look at all of the morally questionable and straight up questionable goated characters I'm showing you right now. Look at them. Look at them. Another gripe I have with you nostalgia nut huggers is that by default you become a stan claiming you've witnessed the pinnacle of all media. You know, maybe if I saw Hunter x Hunter as a teenager, I'd have turned out to be a shonen elitist because no other shonen, except for Gintama, has reached those same shonen heights for me. Or maybe if I saw or read Vinland Saga at a young age, I'd still overwhelmingly view the Farmland arc as one of the best anime manga arcs of all time, with Thorfinn having the greatest character arc in anything I've seen, which it still might be, given that it's still fresh in my head, and the manga is still ongoing at the time of this recording. An important component of consuming media is that I'm welcome to letting other shows pass up my favorites. I'm fine with enjoying and putting a current show at the top of my all-time list. Now that's not to say I'm constantly changing my top shows, but none of them are set in stone. They shouldn't be. On to another tangent. I know, I'm sorry. But going back to Gintama, I have one more thing to thank Ava for. That stupid fucking ending of the show that Ava delivered where everyone is thinking out loud about. Oh my god. I don't want to talk about it, but the whole congratulations bullshit. Man, I will thank Ava for one and one reason only. That being that despite suffering through it and wanting to smash my TV screen because of the ending, watching Gintama do a parody of the final Ava episodes gave me some good laughter. Truly the only worthwhile thing about watching that show. Damn, I really lied when I said I wasn't really gonna bash Ava, didn't I? Well, now that we're here, fuck it. The ending of Ava did something no other show has done, and that was genuinely make me mad. A near impossible feat, might I add. I mean, listen to the bitchness in my voice. This voice doesn't tend to get mad often. Have you ever seen someone react to a show and watch them get irrationally angry at a character? On one hand, you could argue they're really invested in the show and its characters, or even say the show did a good job at evoking such emotion. But not all emotion is always good or intended. Sometimes it's not the characters that are evoking emotion, but instead the questionable writing itself. Again, art is subjective, but I gotta reiterate this. That ending was bullshit. And all of the philosophy and psych majors with all their Evangelion comprehension degrees can pick at me, do whatever they want, go ahead, have at it. You have the right, just as I have the right, to call out that horrendous elephant shit of an ending. Watching the artsy direction of Shinji's introspection, which was ultimately him looking in the mirror and giving himself a pep talk, which was no bueno. And for him to do that and pull himself out of his mental prison as if it was some sort of eureka moment right before the congratulation circle jerk commenced, I was damn near nauseated. It didn't feel earned, and I'm saying this as someone who loved social sciences. Normally this stuff is straight up my alley, but I didn't buy any of it because it felt so damn jarring. It honestly felt like the story had no clear path and was being made up as it went along. Again, to shoot Ava and Shinji some bail, being no longer invested in his character deeper in the show heavily skewed my perception on a lot of the show. And that's unfortunate because I sort of like the idea of the hedgehog dilemma and seeing how it would keep coming back as the show progressed when I was watching earlier on. But to see people go on and on about how deep the show is, especially with the ending, I'm sorry, but no. An author or artist may have a vision, and when you yourself experience their creation, it may have completely different meanings from person to person. And that's the beauty of art. So why am I still harping on this point? I admit, arguing this is kinda difficult given the subjectivity when we speak about art. But I'm pointing this out because I believe that when we love something to the point that we become stans, we romanticize it. Sometimes we make something seem deeper because we might view it as genius. We'll go on as far to gatekeep it because not many others can comprehend the heights of enlightenment that we might have reached when we first viewed that piece of art. Sometimes, some people will do it out of elitism, wanting to be different because it speaks to them like nothing else would. And when people get into that line of thinking as a stan, they will believe there's always objectivity in their beliefs. And any critiques against their masterpiece is blasphemous. And that right there is my biggest gripe with nostalgia. Before I can move on, I have to say this, even though I hate that I have to keep prefacing my points with disclaimers. But because I've read so many defenses for Ava, I'll say it. Yes, I know a teenager is able to make a life-changing internal decision that will be instrumental in their future development. You don't need to be older and wiser than Shinji to identify your self-loathing and realize you need a change to better yourself. Shinji coming to this conclusion is possible. I'm not saying it's not. What I'm saying is the execution of illustrating it was poor as fuck. It should be apparent that what I'm saying isn't a Ava fan case study. It's more of a general observation. Briefly going back to how some people make things deep for the sake of it being deep, you can make anything deep. Also, just because something is viewed as deep doesn't automatically make it good. I don't need to keep beating Shinji to death. I mean, God, Ava fans themselves tend to do that pretty good on their own. But quickly, for whoever enjoyed Shinji's breakthrough in the last episode of Ava and asked, what do you mean people who love and romanticize their favorite show tend to make it deeper than it is? Yeah, for you guys, I'm just going to bullshit around and see if what I'm about to pull out of my ass just might stick. Arthur started off as a children's book. I had most of the books growing up. At the time of reading them, I never realized what kind of animal Arthur was, or why he was darker in his older books and became lighter later on after bleaching his fur and skin. I didn't know why he got a nose job to get rid of his long-ass snout, nor why the rest of his family did as well. I didn't pay attention to any of that stuff. But it was very interesting recalling his older look from the older books compared to his light fur, perfect nose version I would see on PBS Kids after school. Now, some would say the character has been around for a while and probably the art changed, so it could be more palatable for kids as he made his TV appearance, right? I mean, that's simple, surface level observation, right? No. I think maybe this was social commentary on colorism and body acceptance. Maybe Arthur physically changed before appearing on TV because he wasn't confident in himself. He wasn't happy with the way he looked. Maybe he feared public perception. Maybe Arthur saw how people of his complexion and big nose fared on TV versus people of a lighter complexion and smaller nose, so he decided to wait and bide his time until the 90s, like a coward.
He's a knitter! 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 No, I'm not a knitter. No.
What's that you say? this sounds like a bunch of bull. What do you mean it's just a children's cartoon and it's not that deep? Does my headcanon sound foolish? Well, art is subjective after all. I'm not making this example any deeper than it really is. Just like how Ava fans don't make their beloved show any deeper than it really is. Now, did you hear that bullshit I just spat? Did you hear how that sounded? Yes, people can absolutely make things sound deeper than intended, and can even give some absurd interpretations, subjective view or not, and I am willing to die on that hill. And please, don't even get me started on how Arthur, a humanoid aardvark with a nose job and bleached skin, has a whole ass dog for a pet. What does an aardvark even need a pet for? What is the Arthur trying to say here? Do aardvarks view dogs as lesser beings? Why does Arthur wear a yellow sweater? According to Google, the only reputable place for trustworthy information, yellow symbolizes a sense of warmth and inspires enthusiasm. Does this mean that Arthur fills Elwood City with warmth and inspires enthusiasm every day when he's walking down the street and everybody that he meets has an original point of view? Man, what the hell am I even talking about anymore? Not to derail this video too much further, even though I've done it several times already. But why do people excuse their favorites with obvious faults, but when another show illustrates those same faults, they're the first ones rushing to point it out? Why are we like that, huh? Why can Eva fans look up Rule 34 art of Asuka and Rei for fun, but the second I install Stellar Blade and announce my enjoyment of the game because the OST slaps and the combat was so satisfying that I went on to get all 3 endings, that automatically makes me a gooner? Why do I gotta be lumped in with the Rule 34 enjoyers? Why do I know what a gooner even is? Oh man, this video is all over the place. As I've stated earlier, people who claim they've seen something years ago when they were a kid and believe their nostalgia telling them that it's still good, I'm sorry, but I don't believe you guys. No way you're saying that with the same lens as you did back then. 2 other quick examples I want to use, since I don't want to keep kicking in Ava's back, are Spider-Man the Animated Series and X-Men the Animated Series. Both shows that I really adored as a child. I remember them being action-packed with even surface-level messages that I could sort of wrap my head around at the time. I have since gone back and seen clips and even whole episodes that stood out to me as a kid. And when I went back to watch it, it gave me whiplash. Yep. While I appreciate what they did at the time, those shows moved 100 miles a minute. There was no breathing room a lot of the time. Spider-Man would encounter Doc Ock in one scene. Doc Ock would get away, Spidey would talk to himself for a few seconds, make a joke, swing away. Then the very next scene, Doc Ock would be continuing with his plan. Then Spidey is right back on his ass, all in the span of 1 minute. Seriously though, there are a ton of scenes like that. Thank God for X-Men 97 though, the show that grew with its audience while still maintaining the spirit and backbone of the original series. I actually had it narrowly winning the Emmy for Outstanding Animated Program over Blue-Eyed Samurai, but I can't be mad as an X-Men fanboy. Alrighty, for the one show I watched when I was younger that I still hold in high regard, the show that nearly made me not do this video because it kinda exposes my hypocrisy regarding Ava. The show is no other than Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A cult classic, a gem, a show that was ahead of its time, peak fiction. Man, y'all love calling everything online peak fiction. So, spoiler alert for Buffy, or whatever. I don't really care, the show's ended over 2 decades ago. But in case you have good taste and want to embark on a dramatic, fun, sad yet touching journey, I'll give you a couple of seconds to skip ahead. Okay. Okay, we start off season 6 where the big buffster is dead from her sacrifice in the season 5 finale. When Buffy is resurrected, she seems confused at first. She's coming back to a land of the living, and we find out she's wondering if she's actually in hell, given the chaos surrounding her, all because her friends wanted her back. They practically dragged that poor girl from what she assumed was heaven, and placed her back in a world where she has the responsibility of protecting people from the demons and the creepy crawlies until she dies. Again. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that my girl had to claw her way out of her coffin in dirt because when her friends decided that it would be best to resurrect her, they did it with her still 6 feet in the ground. Yeah, this unlocked a new fear in me, being buried alive. But hey, that's the life of a slayer. Anyway, after a little vacation in the grave and beyond the earthly realm, Buffy has to readjust to life. She has to pretend that it doesn't suck being back on Earth, being both the mom and older sister for Dawn, getting a job because, while she was dead, her friends used up all the money that was left behind from their mother after they moved in to watch over Dawn. And now that she's back, she has people fighting with her, being a pain in the ass, all because she's doing her job as a slayer. Yep. I'd rather be a ball of light in another dimension chilling. So, skipping over some more details, she eventually starts banging Spike, a vampire, former enemy, and still not one to be completely trusting of, because his lack of soul. Without getting into all of the details of this peak show, she begins beating on Spike, physically and verbally. To be fair though, despite helping Buffy and friends a few times, Spike has killed a bunch of people from like 1880 all the way to 1999. He even managed to kill 2 former Slayers. Let me tell you though, I loved Spike and Buffy, and as a younger viewer, I'm watching and thinking, damn, the way Buffy is treating Spike is really messed up. But at the same time, it's kinda hot. Foolish teenage me, not knowing what a healthy supernatural relationship it's supposed to look like. Fast forward to an older me who rewatched the show, and you know what? Some of them scenes are still kinda hot. But god damn, Buffy really came off as f***ed up for taking advantage of Spike instead of straight up cutting him off cold turkey before things could further develop. Now, just like how some Ava fans rather not remember the hospital scene with Shinji and Asuka, I too would rather not remember a certain bathroom scene from this season of the show. Really try to assassinate my boy character there, man, even though he was still a soulless demon. This season was a darker continuation of season 5, and that seems to be a turning point where a lot of viewers stopped enjoying Buffy, because it became more serious. It became more real. Now, I know I'm in the minority when I say that I enjoyed both season 6 and 7 of Buffy, even though a lot of other Buffy fans don't, aside from season 4, which a lot of people dislike. But if I enjoyed season 6 and 7 so much, why mention Buffy in a video telling you not to listen to your nostalgia? Well, I mentioned Buffy to say that even though that show spoke to me more my second time around watching it with older eyes, it's still not the perfect piece of media I originally thought it was. Even though those last 2 seasons spoke more to me, my second go around, and gave me an even deeper appreciation for the show, I found more issues the second time around, like the shitload of potential slayers Buffy and friends had to prepare, how Buffy took about 2 episodes to kill a uber vamp despite years of training, but the potential slayers, which had none of Buffy's slayer strength, could kill those same vampires with ease in the series finale, and more things, but this show still holds a special place in my heart, even if those issues I have knock it down from being one of my all-time favorite shows. And I honestly feel like this would be the case for a lot of other people if they were honest with themselves and just went back to rewatch the shows they thought were so good. To put a seal on this messy, incoherent video, can we all stop lying to ourselves? Seriously? Things aren't as good as we remember them. Get off of your righteous high horses and making trivial shit seeming deeper than it really is. And if for some reason you disagree with everything I've said up to this point, let me at least leave you with this. The best thing about enjoying a piece of media is never interacting online with its fanbase. Take care, everybody.